All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 3 o'clock. Rough night for Donovan Clingan and the Trailblazers.
Word of the lane to Allen. Allen fakes left, spins, banks it in, and it's a career high for Jared Allen.
And that's from the Cavs radio network. Jared Allen, 40 points, along with 7. Back at it tomorrow. The Suns are in town. Tip at 8. Our coverage will start with Portland back at it tomorrow. The Suns are in town. Tip at 8. Our coverage will start with Blazers game day at 6, live from Moda with Chris Burkhardt. On Sunday, the Blazers acquired Vit Krejci from the Hawks for Dwight Reef and 2 second-round picks. Krejci is a career 40% shooter from downtown and over 42% this season. From the NFL, Super Bowl 60 Sunday on NBC, Seahawks and Patriots. Seattle currently favored by 4.5. The game to be played at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. Broncos have promoted Davis Webb to offensive coordinator and Vance Joseph to remain as defensive coordinator now that the head coaching cycle is over. Rip City Drive is next.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
About a 3-second differential. Bryant just holds the ball between the rings. And they're going to let time run out on the shot clock. But it has been, he spins the ball on his finger. I don't think I've seen anybody do that while the clock is running before.
The Globetrotters.
Yeah, fair point. Okay. This has been a rough week for the Trailblazers. Inbound to Wesley. He'll dribble it out, and that'll do it. Blazers trailed by 24. Cut it to 10 a couple of times. And ran out of gas. They fall to the Cavaliers 130 to 111. And they drop their 5th consecutive game.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Well, I'm not joking. Donovan Clingan got a little basketball education last night from Jared Allen. And I actually liked it because, Donovan Clingan is one of those players who will respond to the challenge of getting smoked by Jared Allen. 40 points, a career high, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, and he had no turnovers. As Michael Holton said, that's a good night at the office. All right, what's going on? Rip City Drive. It is Super Bowl week as we get ready for the big game coming up on Sunday with the Seahawks and the Patriots. And I spent a weekend surrounded by a bunch of Seahawk fans, friends, but they also love the Seahawks. And I would just warn any Seahawk fan out there, like I did to my buddy Jordan, I don't think the Seahawk fans understand that it's not 100% for sure deal that they're going to win that game. And I would caution you because I don't want you to get set up for the major disappointment. Now, I am still going through my analysis, see how this game's going to play out. But it reminds me a lot of last year, going into that game to see how this game's going to play out. But it reminds me a lot of last year, going into that game, everybody thought the Chiefs were going to win. Everyone thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. There was no way that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, with 2 weeks of preparation, were going to fall to the Eagles. And then they went out there and promptly got their face kicked in. So I'm just telling you, I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to lose, but I'm saying it's not 100% sure deal. So just prepare yourself, all right? Because the Hawk fans I around were supremely confident. They don't think New England belongs in the Super Bowl. They don't think that New England is the best team out of the AFC. I mean, they're already chalking this up as a victory, right? The same way that you chalked up that victory against the Patriots last time you played them before Pete Carroll decided to throw the ball at the goal line. So it's pretty crazy. Should be one heck of a game. And we should get more details, hopefully, on the health of some of the players who are going to be in there. So we'll see. But the Seahawks are definitely a great story this year. They've had a phenomenal season, and Minnesota is coming apart at the seams after allowing Sam Darnold to get to Seattle and get them to the Super Bowl. They chose J.J. McCarthy. That was a mistake. Their GM was fired because of that. And now we're seeing the Seahawks in a position to win their second championship. I just wish Paul Allen were around to be able to watch this game and be at the game and celebrate with this team if they win. And he deserves a lot of credit for where the Seahawks are at now with the way he saved the team from moving to L.A. He stepped in. He got a new stadium built. He invested a ton of money, his own. And the Seahawks now are one of the best teams in the NFL and a great franchise. that has great leadership, including General Manager John Schneider, who has done a heck of a job of building this roster. And I think for the Patriots, they really showed what winning organizations do. Now, do I think the Patriots cheated at times with Bill Belichick? Yes. But you can't deny their greatness and the incredible run that they've been on under the leadership of their owner, Bob Kraft. They made a hire after they let Belichick go of Gerard Mayo. And they learned quickly that while they liked Gerard Mayo and he's a good human, he wasn't the right coach for that team. And what did they do? They moved off of him quickly. And they went out and hired Mike Vrabel, who is one of the best coaches in the game, a terrific motivator, and a great tactician. And he's got Drake May, who's coming off of a big year, an MVP-type season, and they've been very opportunistic with their defense. Their interior on the defensive line is stout. They have found playmakers who have been able to get things done on offense, and they've got good balance between Drake May and their running game. I really like the season that they have had coming out of nowhere. So Drake May is awesome, and he's been attacking downfield this year. And then you've got the wonderful story of Sam Darnold and the way he's been able to overcome. Yet another example of a quarterback that was nearly destroyed by the New York Jets, and yet he's been able to find a way to persevere, move forward, and make the most of his opportunities. And I also love that connection between he and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So throughout the course of the week, we're going to preview all of it. Joe DeLeon is going to join me on the show today, an NFL and draft expert, also a college football insider. Joe DeLeon at 5:20 today. Alex Brink will join the program tomorrow. And then on Friday, Brian Noe and, of course, my good friend Justin Ballinger, the sportsbook manager from Spirit Mountain Casino, will join the show to talk about the latest line movements, where the money's at, and what he thinks about this line. It opened up as 5.5. Seattle is the favorites. It quickly came down to the 4.5, and that's where the number has remained. So the question is, where's the smart money? Where's the majority of money? What's the public doing? And so we'll find out all those details as the week progresses. Now, the other big thing that's coming up this week is the NBA trade deadline, which is going to be on Thursday. And keep it locked in here on Rip City Radio 620 all week for the best Trailblazers coverage. Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, will join me in studio on Thursday as we wrap up and break down everything that goes down at the deadline. Now, the Trailblazers right now, not a surprise with their assets and what they have to work with, are involved in numerous potential trade discussions. And they made a move yesterday. Duop Reef, who suffered a fracture in his foot, done for the year, traded to Atlanta along with 2 future second-round picks in exchange for Vit Krejci. And Krejci has a certain skill that's going to fit this team nicely. He's a career 40% shooter from downtown, and this year he's over 42.5%. So the guy can absolutely stripe it from downtown. He's also long at 6'8", good wingspan, good defender. So the guy is going to be able to jump right in, and it should be a seamless transition. But the Blazers right now, I think they're top 5 in the NBA in three-point attempts per game, and they're dead last in percentage. So anytime you take a team that needs guys who can shoot and knock down threes and add a guy that shoots it over 42%, that's a big-time move. And he's on a cheap contract. It's a very shrewd maneuver by Joe Cronin, who continues to do one heck of a job with the roster. And in the NBA, if you're a 40% shooter from three or better, that puts you in an elite category. So I'm excited to see what Krejci can do. He'll be able to blend in and I think fit nicely with this roster. Now, Denny Avdia rested last night. He's got the sore back. And Drew Holiday was out for personal reasons. But the great part about where the Trailblazers sit right now, there's still 32 games to go. The trade deadline's coming up on Thursday. And then they'll be able to settle in, know what the roster is going to be, and really have 30 games left to go out there and make a move. They're going to be a part of the postseason, whether it's the play-in or they lock in one of the top spots in the Western Conference. They're going to have some postseason activity. And I just really like where this team is at right now. Now, they are in the midst of their longest losing streak on the season of 5 games, but a lot of that has been because of the lack of continuity in the lineup with guys in and out recently. But Scoot Henderson is nearing a return. In fact, Sean Highkin had some very positive things to say about Scoot Henderson today, and I do expect Scoot back probably this week. And it's good because he needs to get on the floor. I can't wait to see his athleticism, his explosion in this new Trailblazers attack. According to Sean Highkin, Scoot Henderson said today at practice that he feels, quote, amazing. And today he went through everything and felt physically like he could keep going. Wouldn't say whether he's going to play tomorrow. That's up to the medical staff. But I do expect Scoot back this week. And then we saw the return of Blake Wesley last night. Played 6 games and then missed basically 3 months with that broken bone in his foot. He's back, and he immediately made an impact when he hit the floor. He was awesome. 5 points, 4 assists, and a steal. And you could see with the speed that he plays at, the energy that he brings defensively, he's just out there creating chaos. Or as Travis said, he's like a dizzy dinosaur. You wind him up and let him go, and he just creates havoc. That's Blake Wesley. So the team is getting healthy at the right point in time. They have an all-star in Deni Avdija. And by the way, props to Deni Avdija. Now, I know this is going to be difficult for all the people out there who think Denny's a bad guy, that hate Israel, that are anti-Semitic, but Deni Avdija is awesome. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a terrific human being, and I like his pathway and journey to the NBA to become the all-star that he is. Love Deni Avdija. He's been dynamite this year, and he was named to the NBA All-Star team, and it's well-deserved. His production and the way that he's been able to play and carry this team this year has been impressive. And the best part about Deni, with his increased load that he's taken on ever since last year, he's handling the rock, he's facilitating the offense, handling some very complex situations on the floor, and he's done it with no problem. And he's doing this while teams are game planning against him. They're scouting against him, and yet he's out there having success. And what that means is that he's a star player in the NBA. And the Blazers, as good as they thought he was when they acquired him, he's that much more. He's better than what they thought. And he's been able to continually elevate his game. Man, I love Deni Avdija. And so much fun to watch. And fans, they may not know how to pronounce his last name. They call him Advia or whatever they say. But they know Deni because that rolls off the tongue easily. And they're have fun watching him play. They like the energy he plays with. And it's just fun to watch because he plays with high octane. He's a big-time basketball player. Big fan of Deni Avdija. Excited for him. And props to him. And congratulations for being named to the NBA All-Star team. So the Blazers are in a good spot. Now, we'll see what happens. I guess the best way I can describe where the team sits right now, it's really a good spot. They don't have to do anything before the deadline. They're under the luxury tax. There's not this urgency to make something happen today, but I do believe they're going to remain opportunistic. There's going to be opportunities between now and Thursday, and if the right return is at hand, they'll execute a move. That's really what it's going to come down to. The best part about not having to make a move is being able to remain patient and only executing a deal when you know you're getting the right value in return. And we'll see. They've got pieces. Robert Williams III's on an expiring contract. Jeremy Grant, Drew Holiday. There are a number of desirable pieces on this roster, including valuable draft picks. But they don't have to do anything. But we'll see. And I do know from people I've talked to that this whole Giannis situation with the potential of him being dealt by the Bucks before the deadline, it's kind of put everything on halt in terms of big moves being done because people are waiting to see how that situation is going to progress. And if it's not for Giannis, maybe the Blazers become a part of a deal that gets Giannis to somewhere else, but yet they can net something valuable in return, whether he's on his way to Golden State, New York, or whatever. So there you have it. I'm pretty excited about this week. Really looking forward to the Super Bowl. And I like the stories. I don't like either team, the Patriots or Seahawks, as a fan because I'm a Bronco fan. But I respect both organizations in the way that they've been able to right the ship and put themselves back in a position to win a championship. It's very impressive. Mike McDonald's done a great job of building his own culture in Seattle. And the Patriots didn't wait on the mistake and the hire of Gerard Mayo. They went out and got Mike Vrabel. And the Patriots didn't wait on the mistake and the hire of Gerard Mayo. They went out and got Mike Vrabel, and the rest is history. And, oh, by the way, they got the quarterback right with Drake May. And in the NFL, it's very simple. When you get the coach and quarterback right, it's not going to take you long to take off. Broncos did it with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. The Rams have got that with Matthew Stafford and their head coach, Sean McVay. They got everything right. All right. Telephone number 503-248-0620. We had a slight delay from the Janet Jackson, and now she's back. Michael Shacker is here. Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com, is coming up next. We'll get his take on Vit Krejci on the trade deadline and What about the possibilities of Giannis coming to Portland? Would that make sense? We'll do it next with Dave Deckard on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I'm always happy to talk with this guy. He's a good friend, and he's the man behind BlazersEdge.com. The one and only Dave Deckard is back on the Rip City Drive. What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
Oh, dude, I love talking hoop with you. There's so many great things to get to, but why don't we start with Blazers Edge Night, which is out.
Well, it's March 10th this year when the Blazers play the Charlotte Hornets.
Participate.
Well, it's March 10th this year when the Blazers play the Charlotte Hornets. And we always invite local kids from the community, a couple thousand of them, who otherwise wouldn't be able to see a game unless they got tickets from us. And the Blazers set aside those tickets, and our readers, your listeners, buy them. When you buy them from the correct link, they go right into the pool for that program. And then teachers, principals, counselors, coaches write in and say, would it be okay if I took my kids? And we tell them, yes, bring them all, bring chaperones. It'll be a great night. That happens once a year. As I said, March 10th is the game this year, which means the deadline for ticket donations is coming up soon. We're a little bit behind our requests, so we could sure use some help. Tickets are as cheap as $13. If you just buy one, that's fine. If you want to buy 100, you're welcome to do that too. It's just like you were buying them from Blazers through that link, but one or a bunch, it sure helps.
Yeah, it's terrific. And the best part is, even if you just buy one, that's one more kid that's going to be able to attend their very first NBA game, and you're going to put a smile on their face that you've never seen before. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it really makes an outsized difference, not just in seeing the game, although that's part of it. It's an experience that it's very hard for these kids to reach. But it also creates community, classrooms and teams and stuff like that. Look, these teachers work with these kids day to day, grinding up the curriculum. It's a very almost clinical, it's a very organized thing, which is great. That's how it's supposed to be in a way. But we hear again and again from adults in their lives who say, I got to see my kids as human beings, and I experienced a whole new layer of them, and they saw me in a new way, and this changed our classroom. And really, we've had adults literally crying with how special it was for these kids.
Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com, is with us here on the Rip City Drive. Well, yesterday the Blazers made a move. Dewap Reef is on his way to Atlanta, along with 2 future second-round picks. In return, the Blazers get a 3-point shooter in Vit Krejci, right now at over 42%. What do you think about this deal?
Well, it's pretty good for Portland, especially since Reith wasn't going to play the rest of the season and was on an expiring contract unless they intended to re-sign him. That was going to be it for him and the club. So it cost them very little. Krejci is a good 3-point shooter, as you've identified. He's 6'8", and he's a guard, which fits him in with the Blazers' size. People call him a point guard. To me, he's not a true point guard. He feels to me a little bit more like Denny Avdia, not necessarily in the talent level at this point, but in his ability to make a play when needed. But basically, he's going to be an off-ball player, offensive player with the Blazers. I think he's going to provide secondary passing, take the pressure off the point guard, and most importantly, he's going to be someone who can be on the perimeter and hit an open shot. So that's going to open up the interior for drives from Denny or Scoot or whoever. That's an element that the Blazers don't have in the same way right now. And since Krejci only makes $3 million a year and is under contract for the next 2 seasons, that's actually a pretty cheap and pretty effective deal.
Yeah, no question. And right now, I think the Blazers are top 5 in attempts from downtown on the season, but last in make percentage. Like, they could use a guy like that can actually make threes.
Absolutely. And another ball handler and passer doesn't hurt because they're also 30th in the league in turnovers. So, look, everybody out there who can take care of the ball, who can provide a threat, and who can shoot is going to be a bonus for them. Krejci does all of those things.
All right, I want to ask you about Denny Avdia, named to the All-Star team. Just your thoughts on the progression we've seen with Denny from the moment he arrived up until now that's allowed him to become an All-Star. It's a pretty good story.
It is really. I think it's a progression of role as well as talent, and the two fitting together. I think Denny has, oddly enough, benefited from the injuries to nearly every point guard on Portland's roster. That left him holding the ball and running the offense because there literally was no other choice. It turns out he's blossomed in that role. Now he's pretty bad at committing turnovers. That's his one flaw. But if he can clean that up, you might think of Denny as a scoring, facilitating point guard who can also defend, who is also 6'8" ish. that's a pretty good asset, and that would absolutely take his value to a new level. He's super valuable as a small forward, but if you're starting a super tall backcourt with defensive ability, that's pretty significant. So we have to wait and see if that carries on when the team is healthy. Or whether Denny will cede back both the ball and some of that role, some of the scoring, to other players and become more muted. But for right now, it's a great story. And if it continues, the Blazers didn't just get lucky in that Washington trade, they got transformed.
Yes, they hit the jackpot. And a lot of times for teams to come out of, the doldrums, right, you have to strike it rich on a deal like this. And I would imagine he's much more than what they thought they were getting when they made the deal.
Yeah, obviously, and just as exciting. I mean, who are their other big players? I mean, obviously, Toumani Camara is a stalwart. He's a forward. Jeremy Grant, if they keep him around, is also a forward. Shaedon Sharpe is a wing. All of these guys are playing in the 2-3-4 positions, which Denny would otherwise occupy. If Denny can keep playing the one, now that opens up room for all the other good players to play alongside him instead of him.
That's great. Dave Deckard is with us. All right. The big rumors right now circulate around Milwaukee, and I would imagine Milwaukee with Giannis and whether or not they move him before the deadline is probably holding up activity in the NBA market right now with the deadline coming up on Thursday. There's been a lot of rumors surrounding the Blazers and the Bucks because Portland has their picks. Does the rumors or idea of the Blazers making a play for Giannis make any sense in your mind?
Barely. The problem is what Milwaukee is going to have to get, and the fact that Portland holds their picks is a big problem because that means that the Bucks have to get some young talent and either those picks or some picks back for Giannis, which is going to make them really expensive. The Bucks can't afford to just trade talent for talent without the picks because they're not going to get as much talent back as they're giving out. They're going to lose that, right? They have to get those picks. So the question is Portland going to give those picks back plus give up young talent in order to get a 31-year-old player who admittedly, I mean, Giannis is still pretty much in his prime.
Yes.
He's aging a little bit, but he's got a couple of good years left. That would definitely transform the Blazers, take them to a new level, but take them to a new level for 2 years. Is that worth giving up those future picks and at least a couple of your young players right now? I don't know whether that fits in Portland's equation.
Based on the current construction of the roster with some of the assets that they have, do you like the path that the Blazers are on right now?
It's still unclear. And partially that's because of injuries. Partially that's because a couple of their key players are 33 and 35. They're older. So the Blazers aren't in final form yet. I can say this. You can start to see the Lego pieces take shape. And there's some pretty nice pieces in there now. I think definitely the Blazers have potential, but we're a long ways between here and the final brick. Mm-hmm. And we still don't know what this amounts to. I mean, is this a Millennium Falcon or is this, a frozen garden set, which looks pretty nice, but isn't really going to change anything?
It's Dave Deckard with us here. So with the deadline coming up on Thursday, ultimately, what do you think is reasonable? What should the Blazers be looking to accomplish between now and then, if possible?
Well, if they accomplish nothing at this point, you have to say the Krejci trade was pretty good for mid-season, and they haven't seen their team healthy yet. Now, I don't think this team is going to take over the West. I think the players coming back are not automatically going to make them that much better, but we haven't seen that yet. So really we're experimenting with the same formula that we were trying to experiment with at the top of the season. If they just play it out, I think we have to go, hey, that's fair because we need to see what they actually look like. I don't think they're going to make a transformational trade, but I think they have to be open to the possibility if someone they like is out there, I think they have to still take risks for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're in the middle of the pack, so their next draft pick isn't going to be that great probably. They may owe it to Chicago even and not get it. And also, if you forecast the highest level for this team right now, the biggest success you could possibly have. What are you forecasting? I mean, is that maybe the 6th seed in the West? Is that too ambitious? And when that's the ceiling, you're not done, right? So that's not to disparage them. It's to say, there are moves yet to be made. It's just a matter of whether those happen right now this week or whether they wait for summer and the year beyond.
What would you do with the two-way players in Caleb Love and Sidi Sissoko?
Yeah, it's really interesting because they're the same problem with Denny, right? They flourished in their roles, which is great, and you love what they bring. They've had a chance to show who they are.
Yeah.
But that's with a relatively unlimited ceiling and very, very low stakes, which tends to provide a freedom and a tolerance for mistakes that you don't have when you're really contending. So there's a question. Are they empirically good, or are they just good compared to expectations and where the Blazers are right now? I tend to think it's somewhere in the middle. They're both worth a look. I think they're both worth converting their contracts if the Blazers have that opportunity, obviously. However, doesn't mean that they are going to be long-term answers or even that you're going to get this kind of promising production out of them in the future when the team gets more crowded, more solidified, and the tolerance for mistakes goes down.
Is there any pressure for them to have to move Robert Williams, who's on a expiring contract, or does the benefit of keeping him around for the rest of the year to have a backup to Klingon outweigh what you could possibly get in return?
Depends on what you want. I mean, the short-term benefit is obvious if he stays healthy. If they want to re-sign him, keep in mind he's young, okay? This guy only feels like he's 35 because he's injured so much. He's actually in his mid-20s. So if they want to keep him around and they love him, then re-signing him shouldn't be too much problem for them. And in that case, obviously, you keep him. If you don't trade him, the loss is mild. You're not going to get cap space, but it's not like you lost a huge asset. So I don't think they're forced to trade him. But if a good deal comes along, obviously he's available. That's a long way of saying I don't think they can do wrong with him at this point. I think any way they go will make sense, and I'm not too worried about Williams' future either here or elsewhere.
I did want to ask about Shaedon Sharpe. I've been impressed with his play this year. What do you think about his development?
I think he's obviously made strides. I think his confidence is way up. I like his jump shot. There are a couple things that are still unaddressed. His first step, his ability to control the ball, I think are still in question. And to me, he's the real wild card. And my question is, could he be the lever to pull either a more experienced or more talented or whatever player that the Blazers covet? Because, Sharpe isn't a true two-way player. He isn't a true shooter. He is a scorer, but you can get scorers in today's NBA. I think Sharpe might be the variable that allows them to make a trade, and if that happens, I'm not going to scream. But if they keep him, if they see something in him, I think he still does have upward potential. I think he's going to be good for 20 points or a little bit more per game as long as he stays healthy. And you don't lose by keeping that either. So I think it's another situation where if they do or if they don't, it's going to be all right. This is a really nice place to be in because when you and I were talking a couple years ago, we were talking about if they go left or they go right, it's kind of going to suck either way. Now we're starting to talk they can go left or right, and we can see possibilities. That's a decent thing.
All right, Dave Deckard, he is the man behind BlazersEdge.com. Blazers Edge Night is coming up real soon, March 10th, against the Hornets. I've put out a link on all my socials where you can go directly to that and buy tickets for these kids to experience their first NBA game. And whether it's one ticket for as low as $13 or you want to buy a group of tickets, that's up to you. But please jump on board and help us have a special night for these kids, these underprivileged youth. It's a special night, and it means a lot to Dave and I. And, Dave, I'm just glad you put this together. It was an organic start, but it's become something really big every year. I love it.
Yeah, it has the benefit of being really huge, and also there's no overhead. You're buying directly from the Blazers. Those tickets go from the Blazers to our recipients. There's no cost. There's nothing lost. Everything you donate goes 100% to the cause. minus a ticket fee or two, perhaps. But we don't take anything. The Blazers don't take anything other than they would have charged for those tickets. So it's one of the purest, most wonderful things that you can give with no complications and a huge benefit. So we love it when kids are able to participate.
All right, Dave Deckard, hey, my friend, I appreciate your time and your insight, and I'll be in touch with you over the next day or two so we can get you on the Trailblazers Audio Network.
Sounds great. Thanks much.
You got it. Dave Deckard, my friends, love talking with him. And I would agree. I don't expect the Trailblazers to make a play on Giannis. I do expect the team to remain opportunistic at potential deals that are out there. And I'm excited to see this team as they continue to get healthy and get their guys back for a stretch run because they're going to be in the postseason mix. And Denny Avdia, his story is great. He is playing out of this world now. He's a superstar player. The Blazers traded Malcolm Brogdon and some scraps to the Wizards and got a star. They hit the jackpot. Jackpot! And you need that sometimes, some good fortune, shrewd business decisions, or luck, whatever you want to call it. You need that, and you've got to cash in from time to time. You got to hit your double downs. And the Blazers got Denny Avdia. What a player he is. Great teammate, tough, plays on both ends, well-rounded player, and he's getting better, and he's still young. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Now, this is widely considered as the worst rock song of all time, but Shacker and I both agree that we love this song, and I think a lot of times it matters when the song came out, how old you were, and what was going on in your life. I was younger at the time this song came out, probably about 9 or 10. I'm down.
I didn't even know there was a Jefferson Airplane when I first heard this song. So I had nothing to compare it to. I love this song.
I don't hate it. I know that much.
I want to hear it more at the Moda Center.
Now, there are some songs that people love that I think are vastly overrated and make me miserable. I think we all feel that way about certain songs.
Can we get DJ OG1 to spin this song?
Like, I love Boz Scaggs, but I hate Lido Shuffle. But I like pretty much the rest of his entire catalog, but I'm not down with that song.
Well, you're a big fan, so you probably get into deeper tracks.
That's true.
Than non-fans.
All right. You can reach out in the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. You can reach out to me, 503-248-0620. The great Brooke Olzendam, the princess of Rip City, is going to join the show coming up at 420. And we'll talk Brooke, Heart Your Heart. And then football with Joe DeLeon at 520. I appreciate your time on this Monday here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Well, this song takes me back to the 1980s. Spending time at Bell's Amusement Park during the summertime in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And they'd be jamming the 80s tunes. Now, this would be Greg Kinn Jr., correct? Yeah, this is a big-time song.
I didn't know he was a junior.
All right, 503-248-0620. He might not be. I may have just added that by mistake.
Thinking about Larry Nance.
Larry Nance Jr. All right, Trailblazers back in action tomorrow. That'll be an 8 o'clock tip from Moda Center. Game day will start at 7. Love the 8 o'clock tips. Really nice. Really nice to roll out a Moda Center past midnight. Thank you, NBC. Really appreciate it. 8 o'clock tip tomorrow night. The Blazers in the midst of a 5-game homestand and looking to snap a 5-game slide, their longest of the year. And the NBA trade deadline is going to come up on Thursday. Sean Heiken, our Trailblazer insider, will join me in studio for the 4 o'clock hour. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Super Bowl is coming up on Sunday from Levi's Stadium down in Santa Clara. Patriots and Seahawks, the rematch that nobody in America wanted. I mean, on paper, the Seahawks would appear to have edges because I think they can win the game. They have more pathways to victory, but it's not a guarantee. Right now, the line's at 4.5, and we'll get more in-depth on the matchup. Joe DeLeon is going to join me coming up at 5:20. 503-248-0620. Let's go out and talk with a gentleman that I haven't spoken with here in a few weeks, Raider Mike. Appreciate the phone call, my friend. What's going on, Raider Mike?
Fernando.
What's up, man?
Kubiak.
I like Clint
The
Kubiak.
nation is back in play. No, you were rude to me right before the AFC Championship, and I understood that. It was not a big deal to me.
How was I
I'm going to
rude?
come collect. Oh, play the call. Play my last call. That's all you got to do.
I deleted the audio. We don't have it.
My guess is that you said something ridiculous about the Raiders.
No, I didn't. You were just on the defense right off the bat. Right off the bat. But I grew up in Kentucky, in Portland.
Are you excited
Yeah.
about the Raiders hiring Clint Kubiak?
I just said it. Kubiak. Yes, we're good. He's like Belichickian. He's just all hardcore. This is what I'm going to do. I mean, 5 places he went before he's going to get the Raiders job after the bowl. I mean, but he learned a lot in that process.
Do you
took,
want the team to draft
Seahawks
Fernando
up.
Mendoza? Do you want Mendoza as the number 1 pick?
Oh, badly. He's so Brady-esque. That run he did was one of the most epic college runs in the history of the game. The worst team ever, Indiana. I mean, their record was I think it was Yale or some other crap team out of 700 teams. And Signetti and Fernando took them to a championship, the only 16-0 team ever. So I think we're looking fine. And then your coach, Peyton, throwing Bo under the bus like that? What you doing, bruh? You don't do that ever to your quarterback. That's his knowledge, not yours. To expose him like that, Peyton's a jackass. I used to like him when he was a Saint, but I mean, really, that was ridiculous. It was uncalled for, and Bo was right to come out and say, "Screw you, coach." So, anyway, a lot of drama in the NFL.
A lot of drama.
We can't pick a nose. What, Chad?
A lot of drama. A lot of drama.
Yeah, it is. How you been, bro?
I've been good. Last month was tough with the passing of my brother, but
I didn't know that.
yeah,
I knew something weird was happening.
I went back to Georgia to visit him. He had cancer, and so that's been tough on the
Sorry about
family.
it.
It's especially on mom and dad, but we're mending. And then fortunately, I was able to get the skin cancer taken out. So I got the Mohs surgery, and then I got my colonoscopy done because I promised my brother I would do that. And so now I am free and clear. So I'm feeling better and on the mend, but, still processing the loss of my brother because he was so young. It's tough.
Dude, when you get to our age, you just start losing everything.
Hmm.
And it just sucks. But we're the strong ones. I pray for your brother. I'm sorry about that, bro. If I lost one of my three brothers, I would lose my mind. Absolutely lose it.
No, that's how I feel, man. I just wish, I think everyone has some regrets. I just wish I would have made more of an effort to, you know, be better connected to him and spend more time with him. That's what I regret now because he's gone so soon at the age of 53. But it's not an excuse. When he graduated from high school, he's 3 years older. He moved to the other side of the country and he was gone. He enlisted in the military, the Army. And so from that moment forward, he was living on one side of the country or around the world. And I was tucked away in the Northwest. And so we didn't have a great opportunity to cross paths too often. But I wish now that I would have made more time to do so. And I don't get a second chance. I don't get that time back. But I feel for my mom and dad. They're getting by, but it's tough. And I think anyone who's a parent out there, you understand that the last thing you would ever want to do is bury your own children. It's terrible. And my dad, I mentioned last week, he's starting his grief process. Hadn't had the opportunity until last week, and so he's begun that. My mom was a little bit farther ahead on that, cycle. And for me, I'm just glad I went back and had a chance to be with him and to see him and look him in the eye and tell him that I loved him and thanked him for being my big brother. But yeah, it sucks. I was talking about this with a group of friends I was with over the weekend. The reality is, like, we're going to bury each other. And you hate to talk about it, but that's just reality. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can reach out to me if you'd like, or hit me up on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. We will talk with Brooke Olzendam, the Princess of Rip City, at 420. And we'll talk about Brooke, Heart Your Heart. Now, this is not Greg Kihn. This would be Weird Al Yankovic. What's the title of this song?
I lost on Jeopardy. This is
I Lost on Jeopardy. All right, give me some volume on this. All right, Brooke Olzendam coming up at 420. Joe DeLeon talking football as we go in depth on the Super Bowl at 520 here on the Rip City Drive. All right, it's now 4 o'clock. What's going on, my friends? Brooke Olzendam going to join me coming up at 4:20. It was a rough night for the Blazers at Moda Center.
Word of the lane to Allen. Allen fakes left, spins, banks it in, and it's a career high for Jared Allen.
And that's from the Cavs Radio Network. Jared Allen, career high 40, had 17 rebounds and 5 assists, no turnovers. 130-111, the final. Fifth straight loss for Portland. They're back at it tomorrow. The Suns are in town. Tip at 8. Our coverage will start with Blazers Game Day at 6. From Moda Center with Chris Burkhardt. On Sunday, the Blazers acquired Vit Krejci from the Hawks for Duop Reef and a couple of second-round picks. Krejci's a career 40% shooter from downtown, over 42% this year. From the NFL, Super Bowl 60 Sunday on NBC, Hawks and Patriots. Seattle a 4.5-point favorite. That game will be at Levi's Stadium. The Broncos have promoted Davis Webb to offensive coordinator, Vance Joseph to remain as defensive coordinator. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. Joe DeLeon talking the Super Bowl at 5:20. This would be a record that my mom would have instantly busted up and thrown in the garbage. Like some songs, there's some ambiguity, but with this song, there's none.
Are they talking about slides at a park?
All right, there you go. Can you imagine being in the song? You got your kid in the car. Hey, Dad, what does he mean slide it in right to the top? What's he talking about there? And don't worry about that, son. Jeez, David, ease up. Well, that's Whitesnake for you if you need them. All right, 503-248-0620. The Steal of the Night, great album. Incredible album, Steal of the Night. Michael Shacker has seen them in concert before. I've talked to a guy that's seen him, said David Coverdale was a great vocalist and does put on a heck of a show. All right, if you want to reach out to me, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And then you can hit me up on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. Very intriguing matchup in the Super Bowl. I just love teams that can win in a variety of different ways, offense, defense, and special teams. And that's the Seahawks. They are good in all three phases, offense, defense, special teams. And, of course, Sam Darnold's had a big year and has Jackson Smith and Jigba, but they can get it done with special teams, with their defense. And I just think there are more pathways to victory on Sunday for them. It doesn't mean that that's the way the game's going to play out, but I do like the way they're constructed. I also like the physicality that comes from both teams. This could be a physical Super Bowl. In fact, I would expect a lower-scoring Super Bowl between the Hawks and the Patriots. And for Sam Darnold, he's just one of those guys, like, how can you not love his story? He overcame the curse of the Jets and then was rehabilitated by Kyle Shanahan, wound up in Minnesota, went wild, and then backed up last year with the Vikings, his big season, with the number one seed in the NFC with the Seahawks. And now he's in his first Super Bowl. And by the way, he's the first USC quarterback to ever start a Super Bowl, as crazy as that might be. All right, let's go out to the phones. Randy in Salem. Randy, long time no chat. What's going on?
Hey, Chad. How you doing, my brother?
Dude, it's just good to hear your voice, man. I miss you.
Yeah, no kidding. It's been a long time. Well, I had just clicked onto the station, and I heard you talking about your brother, and I wanted to express my condolences.
Thank you.
And then I got to talking with the screener, and we started talking. I've been having a ton of health issues. I've had 4 heart attacks.
What?
And and the last 2 were super bad. I died on the table twice. And it's been a process. But what I wanted to call about is the let you know I had a bad heart valve. My aortic valve was bad, and I did not know it. I just bought a Corvette. And I was driving through Salem, and I didn't know I had a bad heart valve, and I blacked out at the wheel.
Whoa.
I was able to keep together and drive about 2.5 miles. And I turned, and then I drove about another mile. I remember turning off of Lancaster in Salem, and I drove about another mile, and I got to my street. And when I got to my street, I turned on it, and I saw my Duramax sitting in the street. And that was the last thing I remember. Pulled up, and the neighbors said I pulled up at an angle to back into my driveway like I normally do, but that's where I passed out. My foot went to the floor on the accelerator. I shot across the street, bounced off the neighbor's house, went down, hit another neighbor's car, totaled my Corvette, and I've had to have my heart valve replaced and have a device called a Watchman put in my heart, which stops plaque from breaking off and clots from breaking off and causing strokes. And this happens a lot more frequently than people think. So it's an issue. And then more to the vein of what you were speaking about with your brother and the colonoscopies, I've had to have I'm looking at having my fourth one this year because I've had internal bleeding, and that was what my hemoglobin, which is the amount of blood in your body, was dropping down so low that's what made me pass out. And so I have these colonoscopies. They couldn't find the bleeds. I've spent over 4 months in the hospital just in the last year.
Gosh.
And they have found some bleeds and fixed them, and there's some they couldn't find. They give you it's amazing. They give you a camera that is in a pill, and they place that in your throat, and then they push it down, and it starts the process of going through your system to find bleeds that they can't see with their normal systems.
Well, wait a second. There's a pill that has a camera in it. What is this, wireless? You swallow it, and it just gives it records all the way down?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. It takes about 11 hours to pass through your system.
Holy shnikes.
And then it sends out a signal, and it shows them everything. And that was, it was quite a process to do that. And they didn't find all of my bleeds, and now, long story short, come to figure out I'm still bleeding. Well, they think I have a form of diverticulitis called diverticula, and the seeds stick to my intestines and then cause a pocket that gets infected, and then that eats through your bowel lining, and that causes the bleeding. There's a lot to this, and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. It's been very bad.
Well, now, what is your living situation, Randy? Are you married, or do you live alone, or do you have family in the house? Like, how's that set up?
I am married to an RN.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that gives me hope.
She has saved my life, literally. After the last heart attack, I looked at her in the hospital, and I said, if I don't make it, you be sure to tell our 3 sons I love them. And she started crying because she didn't think I was going to make it. But there was a guy who was a nurse. This was at Salem Hospital. He's on the heart team there. And he is from Romania. And he was a heart surgeon in Romania, but he can only get cleared to be a heart specialist nurse here. And he looked at me and he says, "Don't worry, I got you." And he did. He saved my life.
Dude, that's so great.
I'm not getting any younger. I'm almost 67. So the years are catching up to me slowly. But, there's a lot with your colon health that there's so many things that can go wrong that you wouldn't even think of. And I'm glad that you are getting checked and are doing okay.
Well, I really appreciate it, buddy. And, I did that, Randy, because I promised my brother that I would get it done. I'm just like every other guy out there. You think I like going to the doctor? The thought of going through the process of scheduling an appointment, waiting like 4 months to get in to see your doctor, and then the whole rigmarole. Like, I'm not down with the whole process at all. I don't want to go in there. And I walk in, my blood pressure rises, and I'm instantly bitter. So I'm likely to start yelling at someone. I'm not a nice guy when I go to the doctor because I don't like anything about it. None of it. I got mad at the nurse because she shot me with the, the shingles vaccine, and it hurt. And then I felt like garbage the next day, and I was mad at her for that. And I got ticked off at the lady that was trying to set me up before I went in for my colonoscopy because she's like, yeah, you need to strip down, and then we'll put your personal belongings in a bag. And I've got my wallet and stuff. I'm like, well, where are you going to put that? I was just irritated the whole thing. I don't like it. But I went in, and I'm certainly glad I did. And I would encourage any dude out there, like if it's time, if you're like 45, between 45 and 50, and you have not, crossed that bridge to get the colonoscopy done, just go do it. You're getting pressure from your wife or whatever the case may be. Just get it done. It's not as bad as you think. The prep process was not as bad as I thought. And then the day of, it was like, I don't remember anything. I just went in, stripped down. I was irritated. And the only part that hurt, there was like about 20 seconds of discomfort when they jammed those needles into your wrist for the IV. She got me to cuss. I said a bad word. I was not expecting that. She didn't prepare me for like, hey, this might pinch a little bit. It hurt like a son of a gun. And I was like, oh, yeah. I went, boop. And I yelled it in a not very nice way. And I looked at her. I said, I'm sorry. I was not expecting that. She goes, I should have said something. Yeah, you should have said something. It hurt. So they did that. And then once they take you in there, all I know is that propofol, it's like the greatest thing ever. Because you go away, you die, or you're basically dead. And then you wake up in a different room and you don't remember anything about the process. But the prep process, the best way I can describe it without being disgusting or getting too graphic, it's like a radiator flush. You drink a bunch of stuff, it all comes out, and then that way when you go in, as the doctor told me, quote, this is the cleanest your poop chute has been since you were born. That's what the doctor said. And I was like, okay, we're going to get along just fine. The only thing that would have made it better is if I could have got him to say, Lake Titicaca. He did not say that, and I wish he would have. But the doctor was cool. I even told him, I said, dude, you come across like a normal guy. Like, what's up with the normal mumbo jumbo? He's like, I just try to keep it real. I was like, okay, we're going to get along just fine. And I did apologize to the hot doctor who was there. I didn't know she was going to be there. They had me roll over my side, and I was looking right in her eyes, and I said, I apologize for anything you're about to see. And then I was gone. They knocked me out with the propofol. And that's what I remember. But go get it. Just get it done. I didn't know this, but they think they took out like 5 or 6 polyps, whatever those are. They said they're like moles on the inside of your colon. And so they remove them. And he said a couple of them were precancerous. It could have become a problem down the road, which is what happened to my brother. He didn't get checked until it was too late, and then the cancer had spread. So that's my public service announcement. Go get a clean poop chute, the cleanest that you've had since you were born.
Did you get him to comment on any hemorrhoids?
No. That my only experience with that was like the first time I got one, and I was younger. I think I was in like my early 20s. I didn't know what was going on. And I called my dad, and he's like, oh, yeah, here's what you need to do. Go buy some Preparation H, and you'll be just fine. Even though you feel like you're not going to be fine, it's going to go away. And it did. But that's pretty scary the first time you get one of those. It's like, what is that?
I had the nurse comment on my hemorrhoid after my colonoscopy and said it really loud so everyone in the room could hear it because there was other patients in the room.
Yeah, like when I was at Walmart, I was like, where's the Preparation H? And that lady gets on the walkie-talkie. It's like, no, I don't need this. This is not just between you and me, right? All right, 503-248-0620. Brooke Olzendam is coming up next on the Rip City Drive. Talking about Brooke Heart Your Heart here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive. The Trailblazers will be back in action tomorrow as they continue their 5-game homestand. They are going to host the Phoenix Suns. Tip-off will be at 8, and Blazers game day will start at 6 o'clock with Chris Burkhardt. And joining us right now is Trailblazers extraordinaire. She does a little bit of everything. It is Brooke Olzendam. And I decided, Brooke, and I appreciate you coming on the show, Amy Trask, who is one of my favorite women of all time in sports, was an executive for the Raiders under Al Davis for years. She was known as the Princess of Darkness, and so I've decided you are the Princess of Rip City. Are you okay with that?
I love it. I love it. Princess of Darkness is a pretty cool nickname. I like the one you came up for me. That one I feel is wonderful. I'm all here for it. Yes.
Well, that's great. Well, it's great to have you on the show. And we're going to get to Brooke Heart Your Heart because I just think it's awesome that the Trailblazers have put you in a position and empowered you to be able to pursue a mission that's important to you. So we'll talk about that. But I thought it was pretty sweet last night that we got Blake Wesley back in the lineup, and he missed about 3 months. And I thought, well, it'll have an impact. But, man, he went in there and just instantly started doing what he did in the first 6 games of the year, playing with speed and with energy and making an impact with 5 points, 4 assists, and a steal. Like, he is a difference maker for this team. What'd you think about that?
Immediate impact. I was waiting to interview Denny in the hallway. It's right next to the locker room and right next to the weight room where the guys, do a little weights and then they head out to warm up. And we've been waiting for Denny. So if someone comes around, it's Donovan, like, good luck tonight, blah, blah, saying hi to everyone. And then Wesley comes around, and I just started jumping up and down. I was like, let's go! I was so excited because he's been just chomping at the bit to get back, and it was such an amazing story to the beginning of the season when he was just playing like he did. It was so unfortunate, that injury, as we all felt. We all felt the same. So bad for him. He was just so excited to be there, and so him to return and immediately you could see. Okay, I remember this. He hasn't missed a beat. So we were all thrilled for him. And afterwards, in the locker room, he was interviewed, and someone asked him, how difficult was that for you to have to sit and watch after the way you start off the season you were playing? He said it was really hard, but I have a great support system. I want to thank my mom, my grandparents, and I was like, oh, I love them. They think they're moms. And so when Michael and I came back on air after the interview was over, I said that exact same thing. I'm like, we got a mom top. I love that. That makes my whole night. And then the show ends. I'm walking back to Blazers Broadcasting. In the hallway, there's this beautiful woman, this really cool hat, and she's standing there talking to someone. She turns around, she goes, Brooke. And I was like, yeah. She goes, I'm Blake's mom. And I'm like, oh. And I ran over, like, no way. I gave her the biggest hug. I'm like, we love him so much. We're so happy for him. And I had the nicest talk with her about how happy he is in Portland, how much he loves this team. He said, I got to be on this team. This is where I belong. And she told me a quick story, then I'll make it quick, but I started crying in the hallway. She said, he's a giver, he's a philanthropist. So I was like, really? Can you tell me more? And she said, well, quick story. When it was Christmas Eve, he went downtown Portland to do some shopping for his siblings. The store he wanted to go to was closed, and he saw some people on the street were without homes. And he said, you know what? The store is supposed to be closed, so I can go talk to these people. And he went and he listened to their stories, and he asked questions for like hours on Christmas Eve night, and got to know them and asked him, he said to his mom, I don't think that, I wanted to hear from them. I didn't want to just, give them $5. I wanted to hear their story and just know that they were being listened to. And I about fell over. I'm like, no way. And she's like, and then he realized he had some shoes that were sent to him in his car. He ran and got them, brought them to them. And I just thanked her. I was like, thank you for sharing that. Like, I wouldn't have known that otherwise. And that just makes me just appreciate him as a human even more. So if you didn't already like Blake Wesley, I just gave you another reason to just love him to death. His mom is Leslie. She's wonderful. The whole family seems like they come from this giving place. And so Blake Wesley, awesome on the floor and incredible off of it as well, and getting involved in the community and really loves this city. So I couldn't be happier for him.
Well, I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing, and what a pleasure he is to watch on the basketball floor. I'm not going to lie. My favorite player on the team right now is Denny Avdia. I love the guy. I love watching him play. I love his story and how hard he's worked to get to where he's at. But him becoming an all-star is really a great story, and I think he has become so much more than what the Blazers thought they were getting when they made the trade. And they thought he was a good player, but now he's emerging as a star player in the NBA. How blown away was he that he got elected and voted into the All-Star game?
You know what? He's such a humble guy. And that word gets thrown around a lot. He's the epitome of humility. I joke with him all the time. Like, after his triple-double, after all these amazing performances, I'll ask him about, what were you seeing from the defense, try to get him to talk about himself. and he loves his teammates so much. It always comes back to I couldn't do this without my teammates, which I love. But when he was announced yesterday, he's an all-star. It's such an incredible feat. I asked him what it was like to hear that he was on the team with his teammates and his coaches and his staff, and that was a really special moment for him. And my follow-up question was, I'm going to push you on this one. Can you please? I know how hard you work. How proud are you of this accomplishment? And so he kind of laughed, like he knew what I was trying to get at. I was like, you have to talk about this is a big deal. And he was lovely. He said, you have your journey, you have these things you want to accomplish. You're not sure if you can, and to have this come full circle and have it happen here with this team that I love so much, it was such a beautiful answer. And he finally took a little bit of credit. I had to coax it out, but credit for what a big deal this was. And so it was a beautiful moment. I loved the response, and the fans were so excited. People were, we were joking, but kind of not. Like we were riding in the streets if Denny was not an all-star. And so it was full circle for him, and I just love that it's happening here. It's a beautiful moment for the city and the team and the organization too. He's just such an easy guy to root for, like you and I talk about. He's just that guy, and he has worked so hard, and he's under a lot of pressure, and he handles it with grace, and he's just a really great team leader, and he's such a wonderful representation for the Blazers in Rip City as he heads to LA to be in the All-Star game. I'm beside myself over it. It's as it should be.
Has he talked to you about what it means to him to be able to play and represent an entire country? Because I think it's pretty awesome when you look around the NBA, especially when he gets out to the East Coast, the large Jewish communities, the support they show for him, and they show up and they just want to see Denny or get a chance to say hi to him or get an autograph. But they love him, and I think he really enjoys the opportunity to represent his country and play for his people. You can tell that connection that he shares with his homeland and being able to represent the country of Israel is important to him. I think that's great.
It's huge for him. And when I tell you, I've never seen anything like it, I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. We go on the road, people – New Orleans, for example, our last game there, or the game after New Year's Eve, was a couple days after, and there were a ton of Denny fans, and a couple different families stopped me. Said, Brooke, we watch you every morning, like 4 a.m. And I'm like, oh, well, I know you're not watching me, but thank you. I know. He's like, we do not miss a Denny game. And I said, so how are you in town? They're like, oh, we planned this trip to be able to watch him play here. We're like, where do we want to go in the States? We haven't been. So they looked at the Blazers schedule, and this is like one of numerous families and couples that told me this. They planned it around a fun city they wanted to be in for New Year's, that they were able to watch Denny play when the Blazers were in town. So they booked the flight just for that, and it is everywhere we go. Kids, like the Denny jerseys on, they're screaming his name. It's like the Beatles. It's like the Beatles, but it's Denny Avdia, and it's a beautiful thing because he shows them love right back. I mean, he would sign everything if possible, but he would be in the arena all night if he did do that. I'm getting gifts to give to him. I'm like, really, I've never been in a position where people, I'm like, I don't know, I guess I give it to PR and they can, but people are like, will you tell Denny this? Will you tell him this story? I met him, when he was 16. Will you give this to him? Will you tell him how much we love him? It's truly, it's just something I can't even explain. You kind of have to be there to see it, to appreciate it. But he is so gracious, and he shows love back. But it's something that Damian is loved everywhere as well. But like this, you talk about where he's from, the pride that they have in him. Like I've heard the term Michael Jordan of Israel so many times. It's so accurate. And I was in New York, and a bunch of media from Israel were there, and they were talking to each other. And one of them said, when he's done with this, he runs for, I believe, Prime Minister. I think it's Prime Minister. He would win, and they're telling that to us. I'm like, really? Like, oh yeah, he is beloved. And so to have that sort of, it's twofold, right? It's admiration and adoration from your country, but also that's a lot to put on someone's shoulders. But he handles it so well, and I'm thrilled for him that he's able to really like have this all-star nod for him too, but it's for the people that support him, and they're so proud of him, and they love their Denny, and it's really cool thing to see.
That's so great. Brooke Olzendam, Portland Trailblazers here on the Rip City Drive. One more basketball question for you. One of the more unlikely and remarkable transformations this year has been Caleb Love, a two-way player who has been thrust into a much larger role than he anticipated, but he's responded with great play. Can you maybe speak to this transition we've seen with him and maybe the influence that some of the vets like Dame have had on him as he's continued to develop on the floor.
Yeah, I was just talking about this with Michael last night after the show, how cool it is to have your mentor, your idol, the guy that you want to emulate sitting next to you on the bench helping you out through games. Right? And he's known him for so long because he was at his camp. He was MVP. Caleb was MVP of Dame's camp. And so he's watched him kind of grow up in front of his eyes, and now they're teammates, and he can talk to him whenever he wants, ask him questions, and he's got Dame right there, which is the coolest thing. I have to think, and I know Caleb appreciates it so much, and it's probably one of those pinch me moments. Like I look down the hallway, and there comes Damian Lillard, and oh yeah, we're walking out to sit by each other, and he can help me throughout this game. It's just incredible. But he's really easy to root for as well because he's so appreciative. It's one of those things similar to Dame, where maybe a bit of a chip on his shoulder when he came into the league because he maybe didn't think he was valued as high as he should have been. And the Blazers definitely value him big time. And I remember when I saw that we got him, I'm like, I am surprised. I thought, but pleasantly surprised. And he's just one of those guys that's like happy to be here, grateful to be here. And I'm going to give 100% at all times to show that, I belong here. And the confidence that he has, it's humility and confidence at the same time. It's hard to have both of those, and they go so well together because he'll tell me after a game, I feel like all my shots are going in. Even when I'm 0 for 10, my teammates continue to tell me to shoot, keep shooting, because I have confidence in myself. I've been in these positions before, these situations in college, and I live for those moments. And how many times Damian Lillard said that to us, where I live for moments like that? Like that's where he thrives, in the clutch, when it comes down to the last second, when the team needs him. And so Caleb sees that, and it truly is, in my opinion, I'm seeing him emulate a Damian Lillard out there. So he has a wonderful attitude, just wants to do the best he can for the team on both ends, and he is fiery. And when he is hot, I want him to shoot every time. I'm like, keep shooting, Caleb, keep shooting. So yeah, he's been a wonderful addition. And he and Blake kind of remind me a little bit of each other with the way that they just go on 100% at all times on both ends, diving for balls, looking for their shot, just immediate impact, and maybe not a huge stat line every night, but you're going to get something out of those two every single night. And Caleb has been someone I've been just really rooting for, and I'm so pleased that he's having the year he's having.
Well, I love the stories. Brooke Olsendam is with us here on the Rip City Drive. Well, it's time again for Burkhardt Your Heart 2026. And this is pretty exciting because you started this back in 2020. And from what I understand, you've raised more than $154,000 for the American Heart Association to date. And this year's goal, I think, is to reach $10,000 in donations. And the best part is the Trailblazers, who continue to do great work in the community, they're going to match up to $5,000 in donations. So what's the plan this year, Brooke?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I cannot thank the Trailblazers enough. I would not be here doing this without their help, their backing, their assistance, their everything. I mean, I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I came up with this idea and what I wanted to do. I'm like, can you guys help me out? I'm not sure I know what I want it to be, but I've never done anything like this before. I've never had a foundation, and so their help has been I can't even thank them enough. But on top of it, I mentioned to match $5,000. That's huge. That is such a big number with all the research and everything that the American Association is doing. Every dollar matters. So the fact that they match $5,000, I'm just so grateful for that. But yeah, this is our 6th year. Yes, you nailed it. You know your facts there, Chad. Over $154,000, which is, whenever I hear that or read that, I'm grateful, thankful to everyone who's ever donated, who's purchased a hat or a scarf, or a pin that's changed over the years. No matter how you've helped, I am so appreciative. Thank you so much. Every year I go into this thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do this again, because everyone's been so wonderful the last 5 years. I hope that people still are interested in donating or still want to be a part of it, and they always come through. And I'm just excited. 6 years. It's been the most impactful thing I've done in my life, where it's a community feel. It's everyone that gets involved and donates. I still can't, it's a pinch me moment, that people want to give and want to help. And so, yeah, we're doing it again. We want to raise awareness for heart health. Someone in your family, in your world, orbit has been affected by it. If it's not you, I hear stories every February, actually throughout the year, but when it's February, I'm really diving into all of this. People come up to me on set, before pregame, tell me their stories, and they hit hard. And I say, that's a reminder. This is why we do this every year. So it's another year, and I'm excited. I've already talked to a bunch of people that want to be involved and trying to figure out ways that they can. It's really just getting the word out and visiting the website. And it's not just about donating. It's spend some time on the website. Go to American Heart Association to learn more. I've had many stories of people that have done that. Listen to my story with Lamar, and I did an interview the first year that was very involved and very in-depth, and it was about my late husband who had a heart attack, which is why we're doing this, and passed away at 27. And he had a lot of we realized after the fact that he only had 10% of his blood coming to his heart. He had a carotid artery, and we were none the wiser. It didn't in his family. He was a professional athlete, so it was obviously a shock, a tragedy. It was devastating. But
and he was 27, right? At the age of 27.
He was 27.
10 days
Correct.
after you were married.
27. Yes.
Jesus.
In the hotel we were staying at in Florida. I'd just taken a job there, and so that was like our pseudo honeymoon while we looked for a place to live. He's down in the gym. He's on the treadmill running, which he did every day, and his heart just couldn't take it anymore, and he had a heart attack there. Went him at the hospital, and he passed away soon thereafter. But while I was there, it happened very quickly. It's very shocking, and so years after, you still will forever grieve, but at some point, I came to a place where how can I try to make something out of it? How can I help people with this? Because I don't want this to happen to anyone that I know and love or anyone in general. So that's kind of the goal here, is to raise awareness. If you feel like you're putting out a lot of extra effort in cardio and running and anything that you feel like, I don't feel like this should be as difficult as this is for me. I mean, Andy would go through 10 shirts on a run, or a workout, and come to find out you're just exerting way more energy than the average person because of the issues that he had. And so if you feel that way, or you feel like someone that maybe that's the situation, it just can't hurt to get checked. It just can't. It really can't. So I just really, if I could say one thing, is like, listen to your body, listen to your people around you. If you think this is something that could be affecting you or someone you love, someone that it's face thing, or if it's you, set up an appointment, just get it checked. And then if everything's fine, then you have peace of mind moving forward, So this is a very important month to me, and I appreciate you letting me talk about it. Hopefully, every year someone tells me a story that it affected them in a way. They either changed their lifestyle decisions, and actually I've had some people tell me they went and got checked, or they had a family member they told to go get checked, and they had to go to emergency heart surgery the next week because they were dealing with it. So we have saved a life. I know that, which is just humbling to me. So it's all worth it because of that one. But if we can continue to change things, change lives, improve lives, improve just heart awareness, then we're doing our job.
Now, Brooke, I know that each year you do some retail items where people can support Brooke Heart Your Heart. I think you're doing a beanie this year. You've done some of those pendants before with the logo. So what's going to be available this year, and where can people purchase?
Thank you. It's at the Rip City Clothing Company. It's also online. Wanted to make sure it was online because a lot of people that don't live in Portland that are Blazers fans want to be able to purchase it. So that definitely made sure that was still available to order online. And you're right, it is a beanie. And so I've done a beanie before, but the one I did before was very colorful, bright, with a little pom-pom on top. Love that one. It's an OG. Love that hat. But I wanted to do something a little more simple that you can just throw on with anything. It's just, one color, kind of just neutral. So it's gray. It has my Burkhardt Heart symbol on the front and the Trailblazers pinwheel on the back. And my dad, I were just talking about it. I gave him one, I guess, a couple days ago. And he said, I really like it. It's roomy. You know what? You should get Rob Williams to wear it because it's roomy. Because Rob's a big beanie guy. Like, he wears them at every practice. He's always in a beanie. He's like, I think that Rob would like this because it's really roomy. My point, dad really says it's very comfortable. So if you're wondering, my dad really likes it.
No,
and
it's
I
awesome.
think it's great, too. It's simple. It's at City Clothing Company. And I think people will like it. People were asking last game. It goes into Rip City Clothing Company tomorrow. We're launching, our official launch is tomorrow. So we'll be in the stores at Moda. So if you're going to the game tomorrow and your head feels a little cold, or you want to, help Brooke Heart Your Heart and the American Heart Association, I would love you to stop by and see if you like it.
No, it looks great. I'm looking at a picture of you wearing the simple gray beanie right now. It's got the logo on it, and it's available right now if you go to ripcityclothing.com, the 2026 Brooke Heart Your Heart beanie. Very nice. Good luck.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I appreciate that.
All right, Brooke Golzendam, Brooke Heart Your Heart. It's going right now. And, Brooke, I really appreciate your time. I love your stories, and I love your passion to help others through your tragedy. And the best part is I get double the trouble this week because I get you again tomorrow in person at Moda Center.
You sure you still want me?
I do, yes, absolutely. And I'm getting
Okay.
people reach out and say, you need Brooke on the show more often. So every time you come on, you make the show better, and I appreciate
Aw.
that.
Thanks, guys, and you, Chad. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I always have fun talking to you. It's funny. We're always like ships in the night when we see each other at work or wherever, because you're going one way and I'm kind of going the other way. So
Yep.
this is really us being able to catch up is when we do these things. This is
I know.
most we get to
'Cause you're
chat,
right,
So I
'cause
really enjoy it.
You know what it's like? Once you step inside the arena on a game night, it is one big blur. And so I see you in passing
Yeah.
all the time, but we never get a chance to stop because we're on the move.
Totally. I look forward to these are also. I mean, these are beneficial, and I'm glad that fans enjoy it. Thank you. Shout out to everyone listening. But it's also nice for me just to catch up.
Well, I appreciate the stories, and I appreciate what you're doing in the community. And I love the Trailblazers because they never get the credit they deserve for the work they do in the community. But enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you in person tomorrow.
Thanks, Chad. I'll see you tomorrow in the flesh.
You got it. There you go. Brooke Olzendam, ladies and gentlemen, the princess of Rip City here on the Rip City Drive. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Joe DeLeon is coming up at 5:20 to break down the Super Bowl. Michael Shacker is here. And the beanie, I'm looking at it right now, simple gray, the 2026 Brooke Heart Your Heart beanie, which is available online right now at ripcityclothing.com. I just punched in the web address, ripcityclothing.com, and did a simple search of Brooke, and it popped right up. And you'll see a picture of Brooke's dome with the beanie on. It looks good. All right, we'll keep things rolling. You got the Rip City Drive. Trailblazers and Suns tomorrow, tip-off at 8 here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Yeah, John McClain is reporting that the NFL's first game in France, because they're going to do one in Paris, is going to be the Browns and Saints on October 25th. Boy, nothing will ever grow your game like placing the Cleveland Browns and the New Orleans Saints in a different country. Those Frenchies are going to show up to that game, watch those two teams, and be like, why would I ever give a flying rip about NFL football? Seriously? The Cleveland Browns? Can you think of a worse team? Maybe the Jets? But the Browns are like the epitome of what's wrong with the NFL. Moronic ownership, bad football team, regularly a disaster, and picking near the top of the NFL draft. I have a good idea. Let's grow the game. What do you want to do? Let's play in a bunch of different, countries around the world. All right. Why don't we introduce France by putting the Browns and Saints over there? I frankly cannot think of a worse thing to do. It'd be like the NBA saying they want to grow the game and then putting the Washington Wizards in some big ball game across the pond. Bad idea. And the other thing, too, just prepare yourself. I'm getting sick of LeBron. Like this last week, I've just about had it. When Ramona Shelburne came out trying to sell the idea he did not request or pressure the Lakers to draft his son, Bronny, that's when I was like, okay, it's just too much. Don't insult our intelligence by trying to put out a false narrative. Just like LeBron when he came out and said that it's impossible for today's players to play 82 games because there's never been pace like this in the NBA, except for in the 1980s when it was a faster pace than today's game. It's just like he tries so hard. Why is it so? He can't not be a fraud. He can't be real. He's always trying to pretend that he's read books he hasn't read. He said once that The Godfather was his favorite movie, and he couldn't name one single quote from the movie. Whatever. I can't stand LeBron, but you know what he's going to do. He's not going to sneak away at the end of the season and shut it down. There's no way, with his ego and the attention that he is always clamoring for, and the efforts that he and his PR team have put out on a regular basis to try and convince people that he's the greatest of all time when we know it's Michael Jordan, there's no way that he's going to shut it down without the victory tour. And I remember one player. It was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the captain. I remember his last season back in the 88-89 campaign that he had announced before the year was his final season, and he obviously was a terrific player with the skyhook. And as he stopped off in these different arenas in different towns when it was his final game in that arena, he was presented with gifts. I think the Trailblazers gave him a backgammon set, if memory serves correct. And I think I'm 100% dead on with that one. But he had a victory tour, and he got gifts. But you know LeBron James is going to do that, and it's going to be insufferable for the entire season. I mean, I will tune out in a heartbeat. I don't need to see that. Just stop trying to insult our intelligence. So let me get this straight. You did not request, pressure, or suggest to the Lakers that they draft your son, Bronny. Okay. If you say so, brother. Give me a break. All right. Joe DeLeon, NFL draft, NFL college football expert, is going to join us, one of my favorite guests, to break down the Super Bowl coming up at 5:20. And you can reach out and join me at 503-248-0620. Don't forget the Blazers in action tomorrow. Suns are in town. That tip-off from Moda Center is at 8. And our coverage will start with Blazers Game Day at 6 here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Kareem, our staff gave a great deal of thought to the gift which we present to you tonight. We wanted it to be something unique and something by which you would remember Portland. We understand one of your pastimes is backgammon, and the Trailblazers are pleased to present you this magnificent backgammon set, which I will try to describe. It is made of custom-cut and polished glass, hand-carved and inlaid with 23-karat gold leaf.
One of the greatest players of all time, you give him backgammon. Give me a break.
It has hand-carved ivory dice and ebonized walnut dice cups. The holders are inlaid with
Lakers gave him a
23-karat
motorcycle.
gold leaf. You will note it features the opposing logos of the Trailblazers and Lakers. This set
backgammon.
was created by Oregon artist Kathleen Meisen-Meehan for Prestige Jewelers. Kareem, on behalf of our players, coaching staff, and our entire organization, I present it to you with our congratulations on your incredible career and our best wishes for good health and success in whatever the future holds.
he gives a lot of thought, I think, to what he's tried to accomplish in what has been a very.
All right, what's going on? It's now 5 o'clock. Chad here. We start with the Trailblazers, who are in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, their longest of the season. They got beat by the Cavs last night, but they're back at it tomorrow night. The Suns are in town. Tip-off is at 8. Our coverage starts with Blazer Game Day at 6. Live from Motor Center with Chris Burkhardt. I will also be live from Motor with the Rip City Drive at 3. And once again, Brooke Olsendam will join me in person tomorrow. Yesterday, the team acquired Vit Krejci from the Hawks in exchange for Duop Reef and a couple of second-round picks in the future. He's a career 40% shooter from downtown, over 42% this year. We got the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Seahawks and Patriots from Santa Clara. Right now, Seattle's a 4.5-point favorite. And the Broncos have promoted Davis Webb to offensive coordinator. Vance Joseph will remain as defensive coordinator now that the head coaching cycle is over. Joe DeLeon talking Super Bowl at 5:20. Yeah, I was only 12 years old when Kareem was on his retirement tour, and I watched that game with the Blazers and Lakers when he came to town for the last time, and I just always found it odd that they handed him a backgammon set. I can't believe Shacker had that audio, too. I think the Lakers gave him a motorcycle. That's a pretty badass gift. But LeBron will be insufferable. That is a retirement tour I don't need to see, to be honest with you. All right, Joe DeLeon breaking down the Super Bowl coming up in 20 minutes. So Joe DeLeon's breaking it down, and I'm excited about the game. I hope that Drake May's shoulder is okay. He got hit pretty hard and landed on that in the AFC title game. But I was looking back at those games. You know, they beat the Chargers, the Texans, and the Broncos, and they did not look good on offense in either of those games. But I respect Drake May because I think the mark of a good quarterback is being able to suffer through long stretches of poor play or maybe the offense not humming the way you want, but still finding a way to get the job done. AFC title game is a perfect example where the Patriots offense was at a stall. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw the football. But Drake May found enough room with his legs to pick up some key first downs and put them in a position to get enough points to win the game. And he's had a big-time year. And I guess what I respect about his season is that if you look back throughout the course of the year, and he's an MVP candidate for a reason, he's been attacking downfield. He's not afraid to let it rip. He'll take some chances, and he'll look to make big plays. And he's mobile. He can utilize his legs and very sharp with an understanding of what they're trying to accomplish when he's out there in the field. Now, it pains me to say this because of his time as a head coach with Denver, but Josh McDaniels is a terrific offensive coordinator. And I think he and Mike Vrabel have a good synergy in terms of what they want to do, how they want to attack, and what their game plan is going to be. So I think the Patriots are going to be just fine. They've been very opportunistic throughout the course of the season, and defensively they've been playing good football. And they can run the football. They're physical. Now, for the Seahawks, it really comes down to what it's been throughout the course of the year. Sam Darnold, and he can do this. He just has to, play his game. Don't force the issue. Live to play another down. Understand who you have around you and what type of team you have, and realize that it's okay if you punt the football, if you throw it away, if you take a sack. Punt the football and let your defense do what they do. You don't need to force the issue or try to force something that's not there. Remain patient because you got the defense to do it. And the Seahawks can also make plays and change the outcome of a game with their special teams. So I think the Seahawks are in a great position. They're favored for a reason. They're a very balanced football team. And because they can win in a variety of different ways, it gives them more pathways to victory in the game coming up on Sunday. But both franchises well run. Both coaches have done exceptional work this year. And these are smart football teams that, put themselves in the right position with good coaching staffs. So it's an intriguing matchup. Now, as a fan, because I'm a Bronco fan, of course, I'm not happy right now. My starting quarterback got hurt before the AFC title game, and the Broncos had to roll out there with Jarrett Stidham against the Patriots. And I'm pretty certain that they win that game with Bo Nix. So, of course, I'm bitter that the Patriots are in there. I don't like the Patriots. Most people don't. Anyone outside of New England is not pulling for the Patriots because of their accent, their pastiness, they are fat, and they're obnoxious. And Boston fans, by and large, have been known as being fairly racist over the years, too. But it is what it is. Now, with the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks are a well-run organization. Well-run. John Schneider's done a heck of a job. And what a move that was to let Pete Carroll go and give more power to John Schneider. And look what's happened. Greatness. They hired Mike McDonald. They got that right. I'm sure the Ravens regret letting that guy go. And it didn't take him long to get the defensive side of the ball, figured out. So you got to love where the Hawks are at. They made the right move by letting Geno go and bringing in Sam Darnold. They get a better quarterback at a better price. And I will keep saying this. The worst take that I heard before the year began was that the Seahawks made a mistake by bringing in Sam Darnold and that Geno Smith was a better quarterback. What are you, brain dead? Sam Darnold has proven to be highly productive, especially over the last couple of years. He just had the unfortunate situation of being drafted by the Jets, like Geno. When you get drafted by a crap organization, they're going to do their best to destroy you. But if you survive and you make it out of that and you get rehabilitated properly, you may have an opportunity. And that's what happened with Sam. Horrific stops with the Jets and the Panthers before he was brought in by Kyle Shanahan. And pretty much when it comes to quarterback play, if Kyle Shanahan likes you, that means that you must be pretty good. Or at least he thinks you've got the smarts to be able to play that position in a precise manner. And so he's been very productive this year. I like what the Seahawks have done up front with their defensive line. They can get pressure without blitzing guys. Their offensive line has been built with young players, and they can run the football. Good balance. But Sam Darnold's been great. And what was awesome about that NFC title game, he played his best game when they needed him to the most. Because you knew going into the game, the Rams with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, they're going to put points on the board. Puka Nacua, that's a tough football team. And the Hawks beat them twice in the matter of like 4 weeks to be able to get to the Super Bowl. So they're very deserving of the spot that they're in right now. And the Seahawks are one of those teams that from the beginning of the year up until now has been right up there near the top. They had a couple of rough performances, but for the most part, very consistent with their play from start until right now, a week before the Super Bowl. Now, I think both coaches are sharp, and the extra prep time will benefit both sides, and I expect a really good game. And I'll get more details once I talk to some of the guys I know in terms of money movement and what I expect with the point spread. But that line opened up at around 5.5, quickly dropped to 4.5, and it's remained there for basically the last week and a half. I would expect this game to go under. I do think it's going to be a lower scoring game because I think the defenses will probably win out in this one. That would be my guess. And both teams very good defensively. So, yes, the Seahawks, I think, have more pathways to victory. But the Patriots are not a team you want to underestimate. They're well coached. And Mike Vrabel, in his time as head coach, as an underdog, has done very well. And he'll do a good job of preparing his group. But for the Seahawks, when you've got a young roster and you're not paying, through the roof for your quarterback, you're in a good position to continue to move forward with success. And for the Seahawks, according to all reports, they're going to be sold at the end of the year. I was talking to a couple of people today. I would think that Steve Ballmer is a prime candidate to get involved in that. And if not Ballmer, then Jeff Bezos. But those would be the two guys I would look at as potential candidates to purchase the Seahawks after the season. But credit to the organization. They've done a heck of a job. It all goes back to Paul Allen. A lot of you younger football fans may not know this, but there was a time when the Bearing family that used to own the Hawks, they tried to sneak out of town with the team and go to L.A. in the middle of the night like cowards. Paul Allen stepped in and agreed to purchase the team and save the Seahawks from leaving but did require that the voters would approve some funding for a new football stadium. And he said, if you'll help me, I will help you, and we'll keep the team in Seattle. Well, they did. And I believe the only county that didn't pass was Clark County. And I was really ticked off about that because I told my dad, I said, you better vote this through because all I cared about, not tax dollars at the age of 12 or 13, what I cared most about was the Broncos continuing to play games in Seattle so I could see them every year. I had my own selfish ambition. And Paul Allen stepped in and got the job done. And ever since he's taken over, he's made good decisions. And that franchise has been in a good spot. The first great decision made was bringing in Mike Holmgren, who laid the foundation for the success that we see today. And I've shared the story, but quickly, Mike Holmgren was the one who went to Paul Allen and was like, look, what we're doing right now is not going to get the job done. I got too many players showing up to practice with fast food bags. They're not eating properly. They're not training properly, and we got to step our game up. And that's when Paul Allen put the money into that beautiful football facility off the water in Bellevue, right there off the 405. So he did that, and then the Seahawks have continued this upward trajectory. Holmgren got them to a Super Bowl. Pete Carroll stepped in and got them back twice, won a championship. And now Mike McDonald, in his second year as coach, has got them in a Super Bowl. That's a very impressive transition. And John Schneider's been really good at what he does for a really long time. So if you're a Seahawks fan, you should feel really good about where the franchise is at. And it looks like whoever steps in as the new owner is going to have plenty of money to be aggressive and make sure that the winning ways continue. And it's pretty cool to see for me because when I grew up, the Seahawks, they had some good teams in the 80s, but nothing spectacular. They had some very good players. Some of my favorite players of all time, Steve Largent, Kenny Easley, Cortez Kennedy. They had some really likable guys on their roster. Brian Bosworth, one of my favorite players ever to play for the University of Oklahoma, drafted by the Seahawks. I thought that was cool until he started talking junk about Elway, and I went from loving him to instant enemy. Keep Elway's name out your mouth, foo. But they've had some great players. Kurt Warner was amazing. John L. Williams. So I enjoyed, going to games and being there, and I was a Seahawks season ticket holder for years. But to see where the franchise is at now compared to where it was back then, it's amazing. And the stadium is beautiful. It's one of the best home field advantages, if not the best in the NFL. And I love stories like Sam Darnold. Good guy, good character, hard worker, no nonsense, and just someone you want to play hard for. You talk to guys who have been around him like Alex Brink, and they'll tell you he's dynamite and a great athlete, too. Very good athlete. And it's just nice to see someone make the most of his opportunity, given a second chance at life in the NFL after that disaster with the Jets. Like, if the Jets draft a quarterback and that quarterback is not good, I just work off the assumption that they have no idea what they're doing and he just needs a new opportunity. That's how I look at it with the Jets. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We're going to break it down. Joe DeLeon, we'll talk Super Bowl with him coming up next. And we'll get his take on the matchup and the keys to that game and how the Seahawks are going to get it done. That's coming up next. All right, I always love talking with this guy. Our next guest is a Rhode Island football legend, also with A to Z Sports and the Sports Geek. He's an NFL, college football, and draft expert. Joe DeLeon is back on the show. Joe, how about the NFL deciding to introduce Paris to football by sending the Browns and Saints? My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't get a worse matchup for a game appearing in Paris. I will say I do appreciate that we're not wasting an important game between two teams that are going to be contending on an international game. I think that these international games are, frankly, a bit of a waste. Yes. I understand that there is this goal to get some more exposure for the NFL internationally, but I guess it's a good thing that we're not wasting any of the top teams on having to make that trip.
I agree. Like last year or this season, kicking off the year with the Chiefs and the Chargers, you have such a critical divisional game that's being played away from either LA or Kansas City. I just think it's crazy. I don't like that at all. And if I was a fan of one of those teams, I'd be furious.
Yeah, you're losing the advantage of getting to host a divisional game. So if you're going to make something like that happen, it should be two teams that aren't typically going to face one another. And the other thing, too, that I generally have such a problem with, these fields are never, like, the grass, the playing surface is never high enough quality to effectively be able to field a football game. I feel as though that these soccer pitches are just not what these NFL games need in order to have like an actual good football game. So there's just so many problems with it. I understand, again, that they're trying to increase exposure. They're trying to get more international fans. I do wonder if there's actually any positive results from this, if there's actually been an increase in international fans. But it is what it is. I probably will not be watching this game because I'm sure it'll be way too early.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that for sure. I wanted to start with Dante Moore at Oregon because you go through and do your profiles and break down the players. I think Duck fans right now still shell-shocked after getting worked by Indiana a second time and seeing the struggles for a second time against the Hoosiers with Dante Moore. What do you think he needs to work on, and what do you think this extra year with the Ducks will do for him?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing from him is just improved decision-making. I think that there were instances at Oregon this past year where he was pressing a little bit too much. I also thought that there were instances where he didn't evaluate pressure in front of him. He held on the ball a little bit too long. His pocket presence wasn't as good as I think it could have been. It's just all little refined details that come with reps. Any quarterback can be really gifted like Dante Moore, but to reach your potential, you got to see more live bullets. You got to take more action and be in more difficult situations to learn how to play the position at a high level. It's the only position in, I think, any sport that requires a cerebral capability to react. I mean, it's not like being a defensive end or a running back where your athleticism can win out. Even though technique and awareness are important for those positions, you have to have as much exposure to as many different things as possible. So I think that this upcoming year, it's great that he is going to be coming back. Most importantly, because Sam Darnold's a perfect example of this. You declare for the NFL and you get drafted by the Jets, there's a strong chance that you are going to be scapegoat for problems over the next couple of years. And if you're not a fully developed prospect, it's just going to be such a bad spot for you to try and learn on the job, being a part of an organization that has not set up a young quarterback to succeed in a very, very long time.
Well, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought up Sam Darnold. Let's talk about that for a second. He went to the Jets, and things didn't go well. That's not a surprise. He had a bad stop at Carolina with the Panthers before he had the opportunity to work with Kyle Shanahan. What has been the key to his turnaround to get to a point where he's had back-to-back terrific seasons and now is the first USC quarterback to start a Super Bowl? What have you seen from him?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is just having, the buy-in from where he was. Last year, there was no expectation for Darnold to play at a high level because he was brought in to be a backup spot starter for J.J. McCarthy in his first season. And to have the team rallied around him, and I think that the offense be built around his skill set was huge. And then this year it was even more so the case where Kubiak knew exactly how to set him up to play at a very high level. I think that the biggest thing for him is he's done a really good job of being able to throw on the run, and he's done a really good job with his decisiveness. We're starting to finally see the version of him that I think everybody expected when he declared for the draft so many years ago. And it all comes down to this, this whole process of he didn't play that much in college, and he was put onto a team that didn't have the supporting cast to help him to succeed. And while he was trying to learn and get better, he was being thrown to the wolves. And now he's been through so many difficult battles, and he's been through so much that all of that compounds over time. And now he gets this opportunity to prove himself. Just that overall experience, I think, translates to seeing how he plays, because he just looks a lot more natural. He looks a lot more comfortable, and he looks a lot more confident.
I'm anxious to know through your mind as you watch the Seahawks. They impress me because they appear to be able to win games in all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. What do you think is their ultimate strength that gives them an advantage coming up on Sunday?
I think it's their defensive aggressiveness. That, to me, is the biggest aspect of this, is that they're able to creatively attack opposing quarterbacks to put them in blenders. I know that the NFC Championship game wasn't the best example because Matthew Stafford had an awesome performance, but look at the way that they played against the 49ers. Look at the way that they played against the Panthers and also the 49ers during the regular season. They did such a tremendous job of creating confusion. And I think it also comes down to the way that they can effectively pull that off is their unique talent that they have on their defense. Nick Emenwari is one of my favorite players to watch right now in the NFL because he's such a freakish athlete. He's a big body. He's built like a linebacker, but moves like a safety. And he is just a deployable piece. Crazy that he fell as far as he did, and that Seattle was able to scoop him up after drafting Zabel in the first round, who's key for their long-term success. I think that because their bodies, the bodies that they have on defense fit exactly what McDonald wants to disrupt opposing quarterbacks is what has made them so dangerous, and what will make them dangerous going up against Drake May, who's had a couple of bad games. Minus playing in the snow, he's had a little bit of a shaky stretch when he's gone up against good defenses.
Hey, Joe, with Clint Kubiak calling the offense, he's part of that Shanahan tree, and, of course, his father, Gary, was a huge influence as well. What are some differences in terms of how he runs the West Coast that you see through Clint Kubiak? Are there identifiers that show you what he's all about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Kubiak has just done such a really similar to kind of what I was talking about earlier with Darnold and the buy-in. I think that he's just done a really good job of activating a lot of these players that they have on the roster to be aggressive and to attack. And I think that the biggest, most interesting aspect of this is how they've used Jackson Smith and Jigba and how they've gotten the most out of him. I think that his development and his growth after being a promising young player into now one of the best receivers in the NFL is just really intriguing, because you're consistently seeing unbelievable route running. You're seeing impact with the ball in his hands after he makes a grab. There's just been so much that I think that Kubiak has instilled, and I'm very intrigued to see how things are going to turn out in Vegas if he does end up officially taking that job.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm excited to see, and a lot of respect for the family. Joe DeLeon here on the Rip City Drive. Now, with the Patriots, they've struggled throughout the course of their playoff run on offense. Is that what are you seeing that's led to those offensive issues? Is that a product of just playing in, cold, freezing temperatures, bad conditions? Is it Drake May maybe not being 100%? Is it the fact their left tackle's having issues right now with pass blocking? What are you seeing that's led to the offensive struggles through those playoff games, or is it just the fact they played three of the best defensive teams in football?
I think it's that. I think we have to give them a pass for the way they played against the Broncos, because they're playing in snow. And I mean, you're playing in a situation that's going to be difficult to move the ball for any team.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that they play a light schedule this year, and I'm not saying this to discount what they are as a team, but I think that having played a weak schedule, going into the playoffs, and you're facing the three hardest defenses that you've seen all year, and your offensive line is not really equipped to go up with those teams because they all have really good defensive lines. I think that was what created the recipe for them struggling a little bit. They're not running the ball as effectively as they had. Trevion Henderson's not as explosive as he was in spurts during the middle of the year. I just think that now they were really being challenged, but to their credit, they've done a really good job of, despite their offense struggling, one, their defense making plays to get the ball back, to force, get short fields, and to also even put points on the board on their own regard. The offense still found ways to succeed and to finish off drives despite being clunky and not being as clean. So I think that's what still makes them dangerous, is that even if offensively they don't have that same potency as they did in the middle of the year, there is still evidence to show that their defense can keep them alive and their offense can rebound quickly. They've got a very short-term memory.
Yeah, Drake May, what are your thoughts on his progress through year number 2? I mean, it looked like through my eyes that he was not afraid to attack downfield this year. Very impressive. But what are you seeing? Because you've got more of the scout eye. What do you think about year number 2 for Drake?
Yeah, I think that just naturally he was a guy coming into the league that needed a chance to really shine. And I think that it's really crazy how well he's performed. If we pull back and look at this offense as a whole, as in terms of personnel and bodies that they have out there, it's not like it's an offense that would even sniff the top half of the league. You've got an offensive line that's below average. You got Will Campbell, who, frankly, in my opinion, is playing out of position, should be playing guard. You've got a promising young running back with Trevion Henderson, who has been inconsistent. You've got Butte and Kyle Williams, who are solid receivers, but probably wouldn't have the roles that they do now on other teams. And Stephon Diggs is towards the end of his career, and I think that a lot of May's success has just come from his ability to disregard situation and just to completely maintain confidence in himself. I think that that's awesome, seeing how he's consistently poised and he consistently plays well under pressure. All those things are translating to them winning, and I think it translates to him having long-term success.
All right, I wanted to ask you, with the Super Bowl matchup, before I get your prediction, what is maybe the area of the game that you think is the most interesting that no one talks about when you look at this matchup with the Seahawks and Patriots? Is there anything like that for you?
Yeah, I think that the most interesting is who's going to be able to establish their ground game, because I think that both of these teams, their offenses flowed the best when they've found success running the football. Kenneth Walker's been on a tear the last couple of games, and they've gotten some huge plays out of him. But they're also depleted, with Charbonnet going out with an injury and not having that same level of depth. And Ramondre Stevenson's done a solid job for the Patriots, but they need more out of him, and they need more out of Trevion Henderson. So I think that knowing that both these teams are physical and try to set the tone up front, whoever can get their ground game going, I think is going to be the team that ends up winning this game.
Well, the line opened Seattle -5.5, quickly dropped to 4.5, and that's where it's remained from that period moving forward. How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, I'm still taking the Seahawks to cover that 4.5. I think that in terms of the line of scrimmage advantage, Seattle has that advantage on both sides of the ball. I think that the defensive line is going to have their way with slowing down the Patriots' rushing attack. I think that we're also going to see the Seattle offensive line to be able to get push running the football against that Patriots offensive line or the Patriots defensive line that they have, even though they've been really good. It all comes down to the main advantage that they're going to be able to have getting after Drake May and slowing down that rushing attack. I think that Seattle is going to be able to win this game and win it by at least a touchdown.
All right, Joe, are the Raiders going to take Fernando Mendoza? Is that a no-brainer at number 1? And how does his game translate to the next level?
Yeah, no, I think that Mendoza is there's no debate here, especially because there's no quarterback that's worthy of going there. And I think that him capping off the season the way that he did with the Heisman Trophy and the national championship has kind of solidified who he is not only a great quarterback, but also a program elevator. And that's what the Raiders need right now. They need somebody who's going to raise the floor. I think that him and Kubiak present a really awesome opportunity to hit the ground running and to really grow. I always hate that we've had recently with a lot of these first overall pick quarterbacks they're stepping into situations with lame duck coaches, and you're just kind of wasting a year resetting the culture and building from the ground up after that coach gets fired after the rookie quarterback's first season. So for Mendoza to step in, some similarities to be derived from how Darnold plays and Mendoza plays with their decision making and their accuracy and their arm talent. I think that there's an ability after the first year, maybe they finish the year strong and Mendoza gets into a rhythm with Bowers and with Genty, and maybe they draft a good receiver as well or sign a big free agent. Then the following year, it allows for them in year 2 to be a real challenging team in the AFC West. So I think that this is quietly a really good situation for Kubiak and for Mendoza.
Well, that's a great point about the relationship with coach and quarterback. Oh, by the way, I know the Giants are close to your heart. You got to be pretty happy about John Harbaugh taking over, right?
I am. I think that was such an amazing move that they were able to pull that off because historically the Giants have not been a team since Coughlin that has handled these head coach hirings, and it seems like they've kind of hired the goofiest available coach for them to turn to. And, finally, now they're actually hiring somebody who has a Super Bowl track record. Now, I think that the comparisons to Tom Coughlin are totally there, that Coughlin was great with the Jaguars, and he gets another opportunity to coach the Giants and takes them to Super Bowls. They need a guy who is a culture setter and who's been there before and who's won, and Jackson Dart needs the right direction with their offense taking a leap. I'm just curious to see who they hire as OC. I'm hoping it's Kingsbury because I think there's a lot of potential there for, what Kingsbury could unlock with some of those college concepts working really, really well with Jackson Dart.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? The Broncos, when they hired Sean Payton, they were a rudderless ship, and he came in and really brought structure and a foundation and laid it down. And I feel the same way about the Giants right now, rudderless ship, but now John Harbaugh will come in and lay a foundation, set expectation, and people will know what they're supposed to do. It seems like I just can't imagine hitting a better home run on a coaching hire than that. Amazing.
Right, and I think that the Peyton example is a perfect one because, and Vrabel is also another example as well, that, there's not really, the direction felt dead, but specifically more so with the Patriots. They already had a quarterback in place, and the Broncos, they drafted their quarterback under Peyton, but you've got young quarterbacks who fit a system, and you're able to build through the trenches. I would even argue, I feel as though the Giants have a better core with some of the young talent that they have than the Patriots and the Broncos did.
I agree.
When they push for their turnaround, because they've got Abdul Carter, they've got Brian Burns, they've got Kayvon Thibodeau, they've got Dexter Lawrence, they've got Malik Neighbors, they've got Cam Scatterbo. There's all these really good players that could end up becoming, could be small high-level players, and a bunch that already are at their positions.
I agree. You know what's great about the Patriots, too? They made a coaching hire. They thought they made the right decision, quickly learned that it was the wrong one, and they didn't sit on it, Joe. They changed path and hired Mike Vrabel. That's what good organizations do.
You're right, and that was the ultimate identity for how they got back on track. Is they've been one of the few franchises that I think has been capable of identifying problems and adjusting really quickly. And a lot of teams don't do that. Giants are an example of that recently, where multiple times or 3-4 years with a bad coach who nothing was changing and everything was just getting worse and worse.
So I'm curious, for someone like you that does what you do, and you're all over the place, you do media all the time, you got your shows, you're a guest on different shows. How many hours do you think you will talk Super Bowl between now and Sunday?
Probably not that much, to be actually honest with you, that just because I've been so draft and...
Were you down at the Senior Bowl? Did you go to the Senior Bowl?
I was down at the Senior Bowl, so I'm a little embedded with everything that's happening right now with the draft world and everything kind of closing out the college season. I might not only have probably a couple of instances where I'll get chime in on the Super Bowl coverage and whatnot. But it's exciting, obviously, and love the Super Bowl, love the NFL. So it's gonna be a fun week.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you, buddy. Keep up the good work. Enjoy your week. Enjoy the game on Sunday, and thank you as always for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
There you go, Joe Daly on simply one of the best. You heard it from him. He likes the Seahawks to win by at least a touchdown. And he thinks that they're going to be able to the ones to limit the Patriots' run game and establish enough run to create that balance for Clint Kubiak and Sam Darnold to get it done. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. Appreciate your time on this Monday. Trailblazers and Suns tomorrow from Moda Center. Tip-off will be at 8. And, of course, every Trailblazer game right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right. It does look like Scoot Henderson will play this week. Now, he has been upgraded to doubtful for the game tomorrow against the Suns. So it looks like he won't play tomorrow, but more than likely will be in the lineup and get action on Friday against the Grizzlies. So that's very good news. So we've got Blake Wesley back. Scoot Henderson is going to make his debut this week. And the Blazers are continuing to find better health. Denny Avdia, let's take a look at that latest injury report by the Trailblazers for the game tomorrow against the Suns, which will tip off at 8. Chris Murray and Matisse Thybulle and Dame all listed as out. Avdia and Henderson right now listed as doubtful, and Drew Holiday questionable for personal reasons. So Drew Holiday's a possibility, and both Denny Avdia and Scoot Henderson listed as doubtful. Well, the good news is, I'm excited to see this team with health. And once we get past the deadline on Thursday, we'll know what the roster is going to be moving forward. We'll see if any other moves are coming down the pipeline here over the next couple of days. But more importantly, just getting a chance to see this team healthy and develop some continuity as they get ready to enter the stretch run. That's going to be fun. But I'm excited for Scoot. I feel so bad for him. Young guy, had a great offseason of work, ripped up the hamstring, and he's missed so far the entire season. Very frustrating. And I know frustrating not only for him, but for the team, because they were excited about what he's going to be able to do. I just can't wait to see him on the floor with his athleticism and speed, the way he's going to function in this new style of play. And as they continue to get healthier, we're going to see them get back to more of that pace and playing at a breakneck speed. And we saw a taste of that last night with Blake Wesley. That guy is a freak. Or as Travis says, a dizzy dinosaur. Wind him up and just let him go wild out there on the floor. So it's good news. Scoot Henderson will be back this week. Blake Wesley is back. The team is getting healthier. And if they need to give Denny Avdia another night off to rest it back, that's fine. I mean, he was carrying the franchise for a large portion of the season with 5 rotational guys out. I would much rather him get an extra day or two of rest to make sure the back is back to where it needs to be so he can be at his best. Because he works really hard when he's out there on the floor. And he's been logging big minutes, up near the tops of the league in minutes played. So that's exciting. So the Blazers are right there. Trade deadline's coming up on Thursday, and Sean Highkin is going to join in studio at 4 o'clock. And I think I'm going to be able to convince Chris Burkhardt to join me as well. And by the way, he's got Courtside Monday coming up at 6 o'clock. Telephone number is 503-248-0620. Tomorrow, be over at Moda Center. Brooke Olzendam is going to join me in person. Also be joined by the captain, Rich Patterson. We're going to talk some Portland wrestling. And Sean Highkin will stop by as well. Later in the week, Hugh Millen, former Husky, former Bronco, former Patriot. He is going to join the show. We'll get his take on the Super Bowl matchup. On Friday, Justin Ballinger and Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, will join to talk Super Bowl. Can't wait for the conversation with Justin to get the full breakdown on where the money's at, what's going to happen in the game, what's he seeing, where are the sharps at, so we can get all of the angles broke down when it comes to the spread and the total. So there you have it. That's what's coming up this week. And I'm trying to lock down Softy from KJR. He has been very hard to come by. The entire crew from KJR in Seattle is down in Santa Clara right now. And I guess they're all staying at the same house. There's a lot of chaos, and we'll see how that all shakes out. But there you have it. And hopefully, do we have word on Krejci? Hey, Burkhardt, do we have word on when Krejci's going to debut? We don't know. It could be tomorrow, but Krejci will make his debut with the Trailblazers at some point this week. Whether it's tomorrow or it's on Friday, that's coming too. And I'm looking forward to seeing him play. It's going to be great for Coach Splitter to have options, because he's been very limited throughout the course of the season because of all the guys who have been in and out. But now just to have options and different, players you could put in with versatility, finding the right combinations of lineups that work, that's pretty cool. All right, big thanks to our guest today, Dave Deckard of BlazersEdge.com. And we talked with Brooke Olzendam and then, of course, Joe DeLeon, who gave his prediction on the Super Bowl. He likes the Seahawks by at least a touchdown. All right, coming up next, Chris Burkhardt with Courtside Monday. He'll break down the Trailblazers' latest move to get Vit Krejci. And, of course, the upcoming trade deadline, and the Suns are in town tomorrow. Big thanks to Michael Shacker. Thank you to all of you. Have a great night, and I will talk to you tomorrow, Rip City Drive at 3 from Moda Center here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.